Welcome back to the DLJonesBooks Show. Now, this episode is my episode 6 of the WandaVision recap, review, thoughts, just a basic overall review of episode 6 of the WandaVision show on Disney+. Now, we're going to get to that right after the intro. Welcome back to the DL Jones Book Show. I'm your host, DL Jones, and on this show and this channel, I talk about all types of story-related topics. Those topics could come from movies, TV shows, books, audiobooks, video games. Any type of medium that has a story could eventually be a topic on this episode, on this show. Now, today's show, like I was saying, is episode 6 of the WandaVision show. Before we get into that show, I want to let you guys know that this is going to be a complete review recap of episode 6 of WandaVision, so there will be spoilers. If you haven't watched the show yet, or you do not want to hear any spoilers yet of episode 6 or any of the previous episodes, or potential spoilers of future episodes, as I don't have any inside information, but I might have some predictions or something like that that could be potentially viewed as spoilers. If you don't want any of that kind of stuff, make sure you stop this, go and check out the show first, and then come back and check out the show. So again, warning you that there will be a spoiler. Also, if you want to make sure you see every one of these videos, catch up with every single recap video I do of the WandaVision show, or just any other type of show where I'm talking about different story-related topics, movies, TV shows, stuff like that, trailer reviews, any kind of things that's talking about different types of stories or, media that's out or coming out or has been out in the past or something like that, make sure you click the like button here so that this video could be viewed by other people, and click subscribe and hit the bell so that you can get notified when I have new videos posted. Let's get on to, WandaVision. Now, this episode starts with a musical opening montage. Look like a typical 90s. Look like we're in the 90s now. And it looks like a 90s kind of sitcom opening. Kind of reminds me of Malcolm in the Middle. I don't know if Malcolm in the Middle was in the 90s or not. I want to say that was in the 2000s. But the opening show kind of reminds me of Malcolm in the Middle. Of course, when it first starts off, you see that they're preparing for Halloween. And then there's a lot of fourth wall breaking by the twins. The twins starts the episode off where they're talking to the camera. They're doing like a little fourth wall break. Okay, so Pietro is sitting on the couch sleep. It's in the middle of the day. He's sitting on the couch sleep. And then you have the two twins there looking at him, watching him sleep. And you can tell by what they're saying is that they kind of look at Pietro as like the cool uncle. Everybody has, when they're kids, they always have that person in their family where they're sort of like, that's the cool person in the family, and they try to be like them. Where it looks like Pietro has kind of become that person for them. At the same time, Billy, he's kind of scared of Pietro because they mentioned that he's always asleep during the day, and he's kind of thinking that he's a vampire. Which, of course, Pietro, while he's not really asleep, he kind of overhears their conversation. So then he jumps up and just does a little, funny thing where he's running around the house, and using his super speed and like scaring them and stuff. Just kind of playing on the fact that they were scared of him, thinking that he's a vampire. Next, Wanda comes down the stairs and she's wearing like her outfit. Like if you've ever seen her in the comics, what she's wearing is sort of similar to what she would wear in the comics with the red and the red headpiece and everything. But that's her Halloween uniform. They're all preparing to go trick-or-treating and stuff, and that's her Halloween uniform. And when they ask her what is she dressed as, she tells them that she's dressed as a Sokovian fortune teller. Now, after she says that that's what her costume is, Pietro says it reminds him of something of them two, Pietro and Wanda when they were kids, and he talks about some situation that happened. And when that's over with, Wanda kind of looks at him and she's like, I think your memory of our childhood is differently than mine. She doesn't remember what he's talking about. So it kind of makes me kind of wonder if this Pietro, which we all know he looks different than the one that we've seen in the MCU, we're wondering if this Pietro is actually not the same Pietro, so, and she's wondering it too. The first thing she notices that, the story that he brings up is not one that she remembers. Next, we have Vision. He comes walking down the stairs and he has on an outfit that's similar to what you've seen him wear in the comics with the yellow and the green and everything. And when they ask him what's his costume, he tells them that it's a Mexican wrestler. It's, that Mexican wrestler has a name, starts with an L. I can't think of it right now, but he says that he's one of those. That's what his costume is, one of those. And he dressed as that person because Wanda loved the Mexican wrestlers and stuff like that. So Wanda kind of thanks him for wearing the costume. And he kind of just looks at her and was like, well, I didn't have any choice. This is the only thing that was in my closet, which, to me, it looks like he's still questioning what's going on. He hasn't gotten past what has happened so far with him finding out different little things as he has been in the previous 5 episodes. So he just makes that comment. She just kind of, brushes it off. And then they talk about how, she can't wait for them to go trick-or-treating, but of course he tells them he won't be joining them trick-or-treating because he's part of the neighborhood watch and he has to go out because, he got some things that he want to investigate, as part of the neighborhood watch. So she kind of seemed like a little disappointed for a little while, but she kind of just went with it, and Vision eventually just leaves. And it's funny because before he left, he tells her to behave, to be good, I guess. Not behave, but to be good, which, right now he knows about all of the stuff that Wanda's doing, and it seems like he's trying to figure it out. Next, we're right outside of Westview, and it looks like we're at the point where all of the stuff from the end of the last episode had just finished happening, because all of the sword soldiers and agents and stuff, they're still shuffling outside of the new red barrier. They're still shuffling around. Everybody's kind of running around, kind of like, I guess they got all trying to figure out what's going on. There's a scene where they're carting in the drone that they flew in the last episode, and the drone is still kind of got like the little red glow on it from Wanda's powers, and they put that up on a table. And then that's when Director Haywood comes in, and he tells them he wants them to analyze this drone and give him, the information like within an hour. So next we have Darcy, Agent Wu, and Monica. They're coming in, and Monica is like upset about what happened in the last episode, because if you remember, she was controlling the drone, and she was just basically thinking she was going to try to communicate with Wanda, but she found out that her control of the drone was taken away from her behind her back, and the drone was indeed armed, and they tried to shoot a missile at Wanda. So she's upset about that. She was like, how dare you do this and not let me know what you're going to do? She didn't think the drone was armed and everything. And then while she's, complaining to Director Haywood, Agent Wu and Darcy, they both kind of jump in because all 3 of them are upset about how things happen. And eventually the director, he kind of got sick of hearing it, and he just tells them, you don't have to worry about it no more. You're kicked off the base. You're kicked off this operation and everything. And he orders some guards to come and take them away. After the guards take them away and they get outside of the building and they're kind of, away from everything else, and they're getting escorted off of the property and everything, they get kind of towards the edge of the little makeshift, base that they got set up for Sword. Agent Wu and Monica, they both attack the guards, and they just they knock the guards out, beat them up and knock them out unconscious. They don't kill them or anything, but they just basically, subdue them and then pull them away to hide them away. And then they grab their clothes and they put their clothes on, which to me at this point, I'm thinking, okay, they're not planning on going anywhere. They're planning on going back in and try to still investigate to try to find out what's going on. Because at this point, I don't think they trust the director anymore. So they're trying to take it upon themselves to find out what's going on. Okay, so now we go back to Westview, and it looks like they're in the middle of trick-or-treating. You got Wanda and the twins and Pietro, they're walking around, and they're, look like they're doing a trick-or-treat thing. But one thing you notice is that there are kids all over the place. There are kids everywhere. They're all trick-or-treating. They got on costumes, Halloween costumes and everything. And if you remember, you never saw any kids this whole time. Up until this point, you never saw any kids other than the twins. And even so much so that Vision even brought it up in the last episode, or maybe it was 2 episodes ago. He was like, where are all the children, So this time there's kids everywhere. They're trick-or-treating and everything like that. But while they were sitting there just enjoying themselves, the twins heard about some candy in another part of the street, and they asked Wanda if they can go and get the candy, and Wanda was like, yeah, go ahead and have fun, So they leave off to go get the candy, and that leaves just Wanda and Pietro. Now the funny thing about this thing is, as the twins leave, Pietro kind of looks at them and yells out, "Unleash hell's demon spawn," which I thought was pretty funny because, one of the rumors, well, not even necessarily just a rumor, but if you follow this storyline from the comics, and it's, the MCU version, the WandaVision version, it's not completely, taken from the comics, but you can tell that a lot of things, a lot of ideas and stuff are from different comic book storylines that has happened with Wanda and everything. But in the one comic where Wanda had the kids, Billy and Tommy, she actually had those kids because of Mephisto. And Mephisto in the Marvel universe is like Marvel's version of the devil, So I think Marvel, he was the one that gave her the ability to have the kids. So Pietro yelling out demon spawn to the kids was kind of funny, because if they do follow that and we find out that Mephisto has something to do with anything, which that's one of the rumors that's going around, that would be fitting, and it also makes me think that maybe Pietro knows what's going on. After a few moments, the kids come back, and they're talking to Pietro and Wanda and everything. And they say something, and, while they're talking, they're excited about something. And Tommy, he yells out, "Kick ass," because out of excitement for whatever it is they were excited about. And after he said it, Wanda kind of repeated it, which I don't think this is a big deal for the actual show. I don't think it's like a hint or Easter egg to anything to come. But the thing that I did think was interesting about that, and the fact that they said it twice, is I think it was just like a little nod, because if you didn't know, the actor that played Pietro in the Avengers movie, he actually played in the movie called Kick-Ass. He played Kick-Ass, And the other part of it is the actor that's played Pietro in the Fox movie, who is now the one that's in the WandaVision TV show. He also played in that movie. Both of those actors played in Kick-Ass, the movie. And the funny thing is that how you can have two actors that will play in one movie, and then they both go off and play in two separate movies, but they're playing the same character in two separate movies. And then now you have one of them playing the other one in the other movie's universe. It was just funny, and I thought that was a nice little nod just to make you smile, make you chuckle when you see it. Next, we have Wanda. She's alone. For some reason, everybody else is off doing their thing, and she sees Herb, and Herb is dressed up as Frankenstein. So she goes over and she talks to Herb. And while she's talking to Herb, he gets a call on the radio talking about all the chaos that's going on in the city, which you can see in the background. Pietro is kind of holding the twins' hand, and he's running around the town in super speed, and he's doing stuff like stealing all the candy and breaking all the pumpkins and stuff. And those are the reports that Herb is getting, which they can't see him because they can't see him doing it because they're running around in super speed thanks to Quicksilver. So while she's talking to him, she mentions to him, well, why don't you get Vision to help you look into this? And then that's when Herb says, Vision is not on the neighborhood watch today. He's not on duty today, so he has to do it himself. Now, when he says that, she thinks back to when Vision told him, when Vision left earlier, Vision told her that he was not going to be with them to trick or treat because he was on the neighborhood watch and he was going to be out there doing that. But now Herb is telling her that he's not on the neighborhood watch. So of course she's now wondering, what is Vision doing? So, and she has that look on her face where she's like wondering what's going on. So Herb noticed the look on the face and he did something that was pretty funny. He was like, are you okay? Do we need to start over? Do we need to take it from this? Is there anything I could do to fix this? And it was funny because it was like the same situation like in the last episode when Agnes was in a similar situation where Vision didn't do what she expected him to do, and she went to Wanda and asked her, did she want to take it to the top? Now Herb was basically doing the same thing, which makes me think that he's as aware of what's going on as Agnes is. Agnes, I think she's under the spell too, but she's kind of aware of what's going on. And Herb, from him saying that, it makes me think that he is too. He's not like a lot of the other people who are under a spell and know that they're under a spell, but they don't know what's going on, Next, we go to a commercial. Now, this time the commercial is like a claymation commercial. And you have a little boy, he's sitting on like an island, and he has on a red shirt. So it makes me think that this commercial is kind of wants you to think that little boy represents Billy, because Billy is the one twin that's always wearing the red, So he's on the island, he's complaining about being hungry, and then a shark comes up and tells him, when I'm hungry, I always have this. And he holds up a little fruit cup. It looks like a yogurt cup, and the name of the yogurt cup is Yo Magic. So he gives the yogurt cup to Billy, or to the kid. I don't know if the kid is really Billy or not, but I kind of look at it as like that kid represents Billy. He gives the yogurt cup to Billy, and Billy kind of tries to open it so he can eat it, but he can't get it open. And it just shows him trying to open the cup. And as he's doing that, time is just going forward really fast. And he's like just aging along until eventually he's just a skeleton sitting on the island by himself. And then, of course, you see the screen, the commercial screen where it's like, try Yo Magic yogurt and all of that kind of stuff. Then we're back with Wanda and Pietro, and they're just talking again. And Wanda kind of, asks him, what's he doing here? And he's like, he don't know why he's doing here. He feels like he's there doing his job. And she asked him, what's his job? And he's like, his job is to just bring havoc, to cause problems with her and cause problems with Vision and to cause problems with the kids, just to be like the wild card, So while she does that, he tells her that the last thing he remembers is he being out somewhere and he was shot up in the middle of the street. And then next he said he hears her calling him and he felt like she needed him, so he appeared. Then the twins come back. They come back and they're telling Wanda about they heard about some person giving out candy bars. They're all excited about it. They're asking Wanda if they can go get it. So Wanda said, yeah, go ahead, And when she says that, the first thing that happens is Tommy takes off in super fast speed and come back in super fast speed. Up until this point, they all just been running around like kids other than aging up. But this time Tommy just takes off. He's like takes off and comes back like super fast with the candy bars in his hand. And when he does that, that's when everybody realized he has powers. He has super speed powers, and then Pietro notices it and he was like, oh, you got super speed. And he like kind of congratulates him on it and everything. So then next thing you know, Wanda tells Tommy that, yeah, he can use his super speed, but whenever he goes somewhere, he got to bring Billy with him. So he grabs Billy's hand and then they take off running. Next, we're back with Monica, Darcy, and Agent Woo. And what they're doing is they look like they're in some kind of room with a bunch of computers and they're trying to hack into the computer. They're trying to find out what's going on. So Darcy managed to hack into one part of the computer and she finds out that Director Haywood was able to see inside of Westview, which was something that he was hiding from everybody. They didn't know that they can see what's going on in Westview, but they find a little program where it looks like they had tabs on everything that's going on in Westview, all the people and everything. But then one thing they noticed is that they had tracking on Vision, which was odd because they would figure, being that all of this stuff is Wanda's thing that's going on, they figured he would be tracking Wanda, but instead he's tracking Vision. So that was something that they noted, that was pretty odd. It was like, why are they tracking Vision and not Wanda? So now we go back to Vision. He had been walking around. He's kind of at the edge of town. He's walking around looking at stuff and he noticed, he's kind of at the edge of town and he noticed that the people out there are barely even moving. He see them and some of them are just standing in place. Some of them are just moving like slow. Like it was one woman that was hanging clothes on a clothesline and she was just basically just doing the same motion over and over in slow motion. And he's looking around, he's noticing it, thinking it's kind of odd. So he continues on and then he sees a car. He goes up to the car and Agnes is in the car and she's doing the same thing everybody else is. She's sitting in the car and she's just kind of staring forward, looking like she's like in a daze. So he's trying to talk to her and she's not really responding. So he puts his hand on her head and do the same thing like he did in the other episode at work when he took the person out of the spell. So he does the same thing to Agnes, takes her out of the spell. And when he does that, she looks at him and she's like, you're an Avenger. She was like, are you here to save us? So Vision, he doesn't know what an Avenger is because, he don't have his memories. He don't remember anything past the first day of the actual show, the actual WandaVision show. So he's asking her what's an Avenger, and then she realizes he don't remember anything. So then when she realizes that, then she asks him, am I dead? And he was like, why would you be dead? And then she tells him, because you are, So while he's trying to find out more information about what she's saying, she just starts laughing maniacally, just laughing and all crazy and stuff. Almost sound like a witch, which is funny because a lot of people think that Agnes is representing the character Agatha, which is a witch in the comic books, So she just started laughing and everything and just kind of just being hysterical and everything. And Vision gets to a point where he realizes that he's not getting anything else out of her. So he kind of puts his hand on her head and puts the spell back on her. And then he leaves. And as he's walking away, he's telling her, don't worry, I'm going to figure out what's going on. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. So then it jumped back to Monica, Agent Woo, and Darcy. They've managed to break into a few things, and then Monica gets a text on her phone, and then that's the text from the person she was waiting on. See, she had been trying to get in contact with, if you remember from a previous episode, she, sent a text message to an electrical engineer. She never said who this person was. For a while I was thinking it was a woman, but in this one she was like, she used the word he. Now, I don't know if he is the person she's going to meet, like is the person she sent the text to, or the person she's going to meet to bring her to the person that she sent the text to. But she got a text from him and she's like, I'm going to go and meet up with him. And she was like, this is my only way to get me back into Westview. But as she's getting ready to leave, Darcy notices that she found some more stuff in the files from hacking the network, and she found out that they did have her blood work from when they did the blood work in the earlier episodes. And when she looked at the blood work, she noticed that her blood work was pretty much her trip inside of Westview earlier had done something to her. And it seemed like that her cells on a molecular level was being rewritten and reconfigured. It was changing, and she was telling her she don't need to go back into Westview again because you don't know what's going to happen, So Wanda kind of listened to her for a little while and thought about it, but she was like, I've been in there. I know Wanda's hurting. I need to go in there and try to find out what's going on. I need to help her. So she decides she's going anyway. So her and Agent Woo start to leave. Now, Darcy decides she's going to stay because there's one more thing she has to hack into that she hadn't been able to get into yet, that she feels that there is something important being hidden in that one thing she needs to hack into. So she says she's going to stay and work on this one thing so she can try to hack into that. Agent Woo and Monica, end up leaving, to go meet up with the person that texted her. Now we go back to Westview, and you got Wanda and Pietro. They're just talking, having a conversation. One thing that was funny is in that conversation, Pietro asked her, he was like, where were you hiding all the children? So it makes me wonder if Pietro knows what's going on too, because he just basically showed up, but he already knows that there were no children and now there are tons of children. So he asked her, where were you hiding all the children? And she kind of just gives him a look, and then they continue talking for a little while, and he tells her, you can trust me. He was like, I know I have a different face, but I'm still Pietro. He was like, you can trust me. I just want to know what's going on. And he actually tells her that he was impressed because she was wondering if he thought bad of her, but he was like, no. He was like, I'm actually impressed that you were able to do all of this. And he was like, how did you do this? And then that's when she told him she don't know. She don't know how she did it. She said all she knows is that she was feeling like she was alone, and then all of this stuff was here, Next, we go back to Darcy, and she's still trying to hack into that one file, and then she does find the file, and she's looking at the file, but something distracts her. She gets an alarm on the computer, and that alarm is telling her that Vision is approaching the barrier. And she's wondering, what is Vision doing, at the barrier? And they showed a little screen, and he's, where, the director had been tracking Vision. You could see where he's right at the barrier now, trying to get to the barrier. So she rushes out to see what's going on while Vision is at the barrier. Now we get outside and you can see the barrier, and everybody else must know he's coming too, because they are actually the ones that's tracking him, all of the other sword agents and everything. So they're all like, rushing and getting to the barrier, and they're looking and they're waiting. And then you see Vision, on the other side of the barrier. He gets there and he's looking at it. The next he pushes himself through the barrier, and he's struggling because the barrier seemed like it's trying to keep him from going. So it's like he's struggling and using all his might to get through. And he gets on the other side of the barrier, and he's just trying to stay there because the barrier is like pulling at him, trying to pull him back. Right then, Darcy comes running out, and she sees him there struggling, and she can see like bits and pieces of his body is like being chipped off and sucked back into the barrier. And she's yelling out, you need to save him. You need to help him. He's going to die. He's going to die, But the director turns around and see that she's there, and he's like, what are you still doing there? And he orders one of the soldiers to like handcuff her to one of the Jeeps, so they do that. They handcuff her to the front of one of the Jeeps so that she can't run around anymore. But then they turn their focus to Vision, and by this time he's on the ground and he's trying to talk and all of this kind of stuff. And it just looks bad because parts of his body is chipping off and going back into the barrier and everything. Right then we go to Billy, and all of a sudden Billy, it looks like his powers are starting to manifest, because all of a sudden he can sense what's going on with Vision. He can feel it. He can hear the soldiers around him yelling. He can hear Darcy yelling and everything. So he runs over to Wanda and he's like, Dad's in trouble. Dad's in trouble. And then Wanda looks at him and was like, what are you talking about? She was like, I can hear it. I can see Vision. He's in trouble and all of this stuff. So Wanda's asking him, what do you see? Because at this point, Wanda is realizing that Billy has powers, and she's realizing that the powers are probably similar to hers, and she's trying to get information from him so she can find out what's going on. In the middle of that, Pietro, he kind of hears it, and he's like, the man will be all right. He was like, your dead husband can't die a second time. So when he says that, it pisses Wanda off, and she turns around and lights up her hands and then just blasts Pietro. And he goes flying across the little field into some boxes and stuff like that. So then she goes back and focuses on Billy, and she's telling him to calm down and focus. I need to know what you see. I need to know what you hear, and Billy kind of like calms down and he listens and he tells her, what he's seeing. And then next thing you know, she just gets angry and her hands light up again. Her eyes light up red and she like kind of closes her eyes. And when she does that, everybody around them just freeze. Everybody stop moving and just freeze in place. And then next, this big explosion comes from Wanda and just start going outward, like the red color, the same as her powers and everything, just starts going outward. And what it ended up doing is it just expands the barrier. The barrier had like a limit, but it kind of like the explosion goes outward. And when it gets to the barrier, it starts pushing the barrier out. And as the barrier is being pushed out, all of the sword agents and stuff, they all see it. And they're trying to run to get away from it, but the barrier is just moving. It's like sucking everybody in. All the sword agents, all the vehicles, it gets Vision, it gets everybody in. And as they become on the inside of the barrier, they all change to things that fit within what's going on. Like most of it is changing to like carnival type things, like the trucks and everything are changing to like ice cream trucks. The helicopters are changing to hot air balloons. All of the soldiers, once they get on the inside, they all got on like costumes, Halloween costumes and clown costumes and all of that kind of stuff. So the barrier is expanding. Monica and Agent Wu, they're kind of far enough away that they're not in any risk of being sucked into the barrier, but they can see everything that's going on in their rearview mirror, and they're like, what's going on there, But the director, he gets in the truck and he takes off. He's driving, trying to outrun the barrier, and the barrier almost catch him, but it looks like he gets away. As far as what I can tell in this episode, I think he got away, and it looks like he is the only one that was out there that did get away. Now, Darcy, she was handcuffed to the front of the truck. So when that barrier was expanding, she couldn't get away because she couldn't move, and she got sucked into the barrier too, which they didn't show what happened to her on the inside. Like all of the other people, they kind of showed them as they're changing to like clowns and Halloween costumes and stuff, but they didn't show Darcy. But, I can guess now that she's probably going to be the one that's inside of Westview in the next episode. But yeah, that was it. After a while, she did that. It expanded to a certain point, pretty much engulfing the whole of S.W.O.R.D. that was out there, with the exception of the director and Monica and Agent Wu, because they were already so far along, because they were going to meet the person that had texted them earlier. But right after that, Wanda calmed down and everything went back to normal, and then the episode ended. All right, so that was episode 6. I really enjoyed this episode. It was pretty good. Now, one things that I kind of took from this episode, it looks like to me, Pietro, I'm not sure if I think this Pietro is actually the Pietro from Avengers Endgame reanimated, or if he's a different person playing the Pietro role. I'm not sure yet, but I do think that he kind of knows what's going on. Some of the things he said in this episode makes me think that he was sent there for a specific purpose, and he's there to do that thing. He kind of knows what's going on. He don't know how it's going on, because you can tell by him asking Wanda how she did it, but he knows, that this whole thing is made up, and, I kind of think he got some inside information somehow. So one thing I'm expecting to see in the next episode is we're probably going to see what's going on, like that scene that they showed in the last episode where it was security footage of Wanda breaking in and stealing Vision's body. I'm thinking the next episode is going to be when we see the real act of her going in and stealing Vision's body. And I'm thinking that that's probably when we're going to find out why she was stealing his body. Because I kind of don't think that she was just stealing it for the main purpose of reanimating him in her world. I kind of think she was stealing it for other reasons. And what I'm leaning towards now is the director Haywood. I kind of think he was probably doing some stuff with Vision that probably wasn't on the up and up. And Wanda may have came and took his body for that reason, you know, to protect Vision from being used in whatever form or way that they are planning on or were trying to use him, you know. But yeah, for right now, I think Director Haywood, I think there's something to him. I'm thinking he was doing some sneaky, underhanded stuff, you know. And it may not be why the city exists, but it may be the cause of how Wanda got involved, you know. But we'll see next episode. I can't wait to see it. So that was episode 6. I'm hoping you enjoying it. I'm enjoying it too. I kind of was iffy at the beginning of the season, but now, you know, I can say I'm all in now. I want to know what's going on. And I'm glad you watched so far. And if you want to make sure you don't miss the next video, episode 7, which will come out next week, make sure you click subscribe, hit the bell. That way you get notified when the video posts up. And for this video, go ahead and click the like button. That way, you know, the more likes that a video get, you know, the more people that this video can be showed to. It helps out a lot, you know. So go ahead and click the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. You made it to the end of the video. Thank you for watching. While you're here, why don't you check out that video right there, or maybe that one right there. And you know, while you're at it, go ahead and click my image in the middle there and subscribe to this channel.